This isn't love, what am I supposed to do? I roll a dice, pray for a 6 or 2. I got my chips, I'm gonna lay them down. Double or quits, the trick is to swim or drown. There's a fire burning out of control. Feel these wheels roll. You're calling, take to the road with freewheeling. We got no brakes, so who's steering? Who knows which way this will go? Drive on. Read out the script, the one with the Hollywood end. Like Bonnie and Clyde, to trouble worlds collide. There's a fire burning out of control. Who knows which way they'll blow? You're calling, take to the road with freewheeling. We got no brakes, so who's steering? Who knows which way this will go? No talking, time is money, keep moving. Nothing to prove, it's for losers. Who knows which way this will go? Drive on. I see for miles ahead, our hearts on the horizon. There's nothing in the rear view I need to keep my eyes on. Well, the sky is white tonight. A million stars like diamonds, they shine on. Oh, drive on. If this isn't love, what am I supposed to do? You're calling, take to the road with freewheeling. We got no brakes, so who's steering? Who knows which way this will go? No talking, time is money, keep moving. Nothing to prove, it's for losers. Who knows which way this will go? Drive on. This isn't love, what am I supposed to do?
It's the Alan Thompson Show here on BBC Radio Wales. That is a tremendous track. That's going to be a single, in fact, very soon. That was a song called Drive On, and that comes from an excellent album, which I am delighted to say I've got a bit of an exclusive on the Alan Thompson Show tonight. The album is called Unfolding, and it comes from Balsamo and Deighton, and the Balsamo that I speak of is a very old friend of mine who's been on Radio Wales many times. It's the legend that is Steve Balsamo, who's in the studio with me tonight. Hi, Steve.
Hello, Al. It's fantastic to see you again, and
Yeah.
thanks for inviting me back in.
You have always had, and you always will have, a place in my radio studio.
Thank
I've
you,
said
Al.
that, and I mean it literally. Got loads to ask you about, Steve. You're looking very well. You've got a magnificent mane of hair, which
Thank
I've always
you.
been jealous of, and you've grown a beard.
But I've become a hipster by accident.
Have you?
Because the beard and the long hair, they kind of tie up in a man bun.
Yes.
I've accidentally stumbled upon that look.
Yeah, because I haven't seen you for a while, and I ran into you the other day. We were at a function together at a university in Cardiff, and you had your hair tied back. You came over to me, and for 5 seconds I didn't recognise you because you got a beard and you had your hair tied back. And you went, "All right, Al," I said, and I stared at you. You said you didn't recognise me. You went, "Balls, how are you?" The new look.
Well, it's the old look, but yeah. You know, we made like a country-ish record,
Yeah.
Americana influenced, and I thought I'm not going to shave for a while. It's in fact the back hair comb over.
Got a comb over, have you? Got a
Yeah.
Bobby Charlton.
From the back.
It suits you, my friend. You're looking
Thank
really
you,
well. It's great
thanks.
to have you back on Radio Wales. Now then, that song that we just heard there, because there's lots to ask you about, that was a track called Drive On. That's a catchy little thing.
Well, what happened was, as you know, we were in a band called The Stories, and we did loads of very cool stuff, and we travelled all over the world and did some very amazing gigs and had patrons in some high and mighty places.
Yeah.
When the band finally hung up its microphones and guitars, Rosalie, who joined the band when Dave Smith left, Di Smith, she and I had talked about writing and starting a project for years. And we gently got together with our friend in a studio in London. Julian Wilson's in a great band called Grand Drive, a fantastic songwriter. He and his brother Danny Wilson were in the band called Grand Drive. Danny's in Danny and Champions of the World. Really exquisite songwriters. Them, So we got together in his South London studio and started kicking ideas around. It was very gentle. There was no expectation at all other than, let's see what we can do, get a few ideas out. And really quickly, we started to have some really interesting ideas, some very beautiful things. It was almost a cathartic experience, I think, after the demise of the Stories, which was a real sad thing, you know. This is my side of the story anyway. There's 6 sides to the story, of course, at least. Yeah. But it was a real sad thing that the band went. So this was kind of the beginning of a catharsis of some kind. Emmylou Harris, who's an artist that Rosalie admires very much and has got a bit of that influence, that kind of very etheric kind of sound to her voice. Yeah. She calls the thing the rub. When two voices come together and kind of really work together, she calls it the rub, and I think we worked out really quickly that we had that rub.
Well, we could hear that in the track that we just heard there. It's a great chorus. That, my friend, is a radio hit. I can hear it instantly.
Amen.
Yeah, that's a great chorus. Very catchy tune.
Thanks. We try to write stuff that we would like to hear ourselves, you know, and we're not shy of a chorus. The Stories we had choruses, you know. So we're never far away from a chorus.
It's all about the hooks, Steve. You know this. It's all about the hooks.
The song is the king,
and that's certainly got them. And I'm lucky tonight. I'm privileged because I'm getting a bit of an exclusive play with these songs, because the album actually is not coming out till the 5th of February.
That's right.
So you brought some stuff in. It's the first time it's been played on the radio.
That's the first play ever, Al. Which is there's something about the first time for anything, you know. So it's really lovely to be here and to be able to share them with you, because you were such a brilliant supporter of the Stories, and from day one it was really important to us, you know, to get, and your show with the late night sessions was so important for us and many other bands that were coming through. So that's kind of you.
Well,
that's the truth.
I love the Stories. They're one of my favourite Welsh bands. One of my favourite bands who happen to be Welsh. We'll come to the Story a bit later on, but you know what I think about that group. I love them. And I was gutted when you broke up, but there you go. I tried to talk you out of it, but it didn't work.
No.
Now the Rosalie that we speak of is Rosalie Deighton.
Yes.
So you're now going out as Balsamo and Deighton. You're effectively a duo. How does the songwriting work? Do you and the other guys get together in a studio with some guitars and hammer it out, or is there tapes being sent around the place, or emails being sent? How does it work?
It works in lots of different ways.
We didn't say tapes being sent around. Well, are you emailing different ideas?
I've still got a tape recorder that I use, you know.
Yeah.
For the younger listeners, they kind of with this kind of tape thing that you press buttons.
He's hardcore.
There are lots of different ways that we write songs. Because Rosalie lives between Sheffield and London, and I live in Swansea, we kind of share things by WhatsApp. It's technology all the way. So we're, you know, the recording devices that we have on our phones are so good these days. So I'd have a little idea and I'd send it up to Rosalie. She'd send it back. So a lot of it was written kind of in the ether, somewhere between here and Sheffield. And when we get together then with that song there was written with one of the producers of the album, a guy called Ben Robbins, a songwriter friend I've worked with for many years. Great laugh. His old man was Michael Robbins, who was Olive's husband in On the Buses.
On the Buses. Arthur. You're joking.
Yeah. So and his mum was an actress as well, but she passed away, I think, 2 years ago. And she was an actress, and she was in Rent a Ghost. She was the next door neighbour with a terrible Welsh accent.
Wow.
And the first time I met him, I said, I fancied your mother a lot when I was a young kid.
Didn't we all? Rent a Ghost was hilarious.
Oh, it was great.
And Michael Robbins, Olive's husband Arthur, that's TV royalty.
Well, it is. And he's got some great stories about being on the set of the Pink Panther films, because his old man was in that, and you know, meeting all of that crew, and
Reg Varney, all of that. Blakey, we lost a few weeks ago.
That's right.
See, we can go anywhere in this interview, can't we? We can go from, your Steve Balsamo, the stories, to On the Buses in one sentence.
Didn't see that one coming.
Now, how many tracks are on this album that you've been working on? Because the album is, as I say, it's not coming out till February, but we're getting exclusive plays on the programme tonight, which I'm delighted about. And the album is called Unfolding. So, 12 tracks?
There's 12 tracks, and there's one. The title track, Unfolding, is an interesting story of how that came about. We got together with Julian Wilson in his very cold South London studio, so we were all cuddling up around a little tiny heater, throwing ideas around.
Done in the winter.
It was freezing. And something started coming in. I thought, God, this is really nice. And it reminded me of some of our old, songwriting in the stories.
Yeah.
And as the kind of song started to form, when we were writing the lyrics, when the stories were touring, there was a tragic but beautiful story of a fella and his son used to come watch us play a lot. And then we get a call from the kid's father saying he'd been killed in Afghanistan. It was really tragic. So then one of the members of his squadron came to pick up a song that he loved, that Di Smith wrote, called God Take Care of the One I Love. And, he came with kind of full military kind of regalia and took the song, and was played at this guy's funeral. So Unfolding is basically, and we aren't a political band at all, but it was written from that standpoint. It was kind of the idea of getting one of those phone calls that you all can imagine, that your son or daughter isn't coming home. So really emotional song. It's the closing song of the album as well. It's one of the loveliest things. When we play it live, again, that's always an interesting thing. When you play a song live, because we wrote the songs, recorded them, and then had to relearn them to start playing them live again, which is always an interesting thing.
Okay, well, should we play that song now?
Yeah, let's play that.
Okay, the title track from the album that's coming our way from Balsamo and Deighton. That's the right way round, isn't it? You're in first, Steve.
That's only because it's alphabetical.
Balsamo and Deighton, and this is the title track from the album, as I say, that's heading our way. A beautiful tune called Unfolding.
I'm right here on the table. I've a cross upon a seal. I'm not ready to be open, be unfolding. I'm in trouble, I'm a writer. I'm not saying what I feel. I would rather this would never be unfolding. What we all need is a little reason. What I see when I look around, I'm not gonna swear I'll be there. I'm a speck on the horizon. I'm a smile upon a reel. I'm not asking to be what is unfolding. When we all leave is a little reason. What I see when I look around, I'm not gonna swear I'll be there. Ooh. still shining bright, but I'm ready to belong beyond folding. See you sitting round a table. I'll be home by and by. If you're ready, leave your light on. I'm unfolding.
How fantastic is that? There you go. That's Balsamo and Deighton. That's the title track to their album, which is imminent. It's been recorded and it's coming out at the start of next year, actually. But I'm getting in nice and early because the legend that is Steve Balsamo, the Welsh national treasure, is on the programme again tonight. Former lead singer, of course, of the Stories, and now part of Balsamo and Deighton, and he's treating us to some exclusive playings. Is that a word? Playings?
Yeah.
Versions of the songs tonight, and that was Unfolding. That was a beautiful tune.
Thanks, Al. We're very proud of that one. It's
Yeah, before the Stories, before this, the success that you've had in various levels throughout your career. Of course, you had huge success as a West End star.
Friend
This
was
is Jesus Christ Superstar.
Yeah, you know, I went in, played it for a year, got a record
Which
deal.
theatre were you in?
It was the Lyceum Theatre, where
That's the Lyceum in the Strand.
in the Strand
Ah.
where the Lion King is now. We had a great time. It was an amazing learning experience.
Now you were a guy from Neath who started singing.
Swansea.
You were a guy from Swansea.
That's fighting talk where I come from.
You were a guy from Cardiff,
Oosh.
Swansea, and you started singing at 19.
Yeah.
And then a couple of years later,
Yeah.
you're a West End star.
Yeah.
Was that a difficult transition to adapt to? Was it scary?
It was very scary. The scariest part, well, it was interesting. The naivety of youth is a really brilliant thing because all of a sudden I'm one of the craziest things was I got the gig, and I was in the audition process of Superstar. So over the year I was auditioning. I was in a place where, God, I have to earn some money. I've got to do something. I'm going to go back to my art. I'm going to become a graphic designer or whatever it was going to be.
Yeah.
And a friend told me to do a Prince's Trust rock school thing, which was a thing in Dyffryn House in Cardiff,
Yeah.
where they got some brilliant kind of tutors and a bunch of kids together who were unemployed. So we did this, and it was brilliant fun. Kind of reinvigorated my love of music. I got the part of Jesus. Prince's Trust then invited a band that we put together from the rock school to open the Masters of Music in Hyde Park in '96. There were like 180,000 people there. The Who played Quadrophenia.
I went to that gig.
Oh my God, Bob Dylan, all sorts of people there.
Clapton.
They were all there.
Yeah.
So at the end of the gig, they said, "Oh, come this way." So I literally walked to a couple of tents, and there was a room full of just all my heroes. You know, Daltrey, everyone was there. So my head kind of fell off from it. I'm thinking, what the hell?
Yeah.
And there's a picture that I've still got that was in Hello magazine, and I look like Forrest Gump pasted on the back of all these kind of luminaries. So it was one of those things, and then a couple of years later, I ended up being in a band with Roger Daltrey and Richard Desmond.
Yeah.
So it's all, weird stories of synchronicity and kind of
Coincidence.
really strange ones.
And then from being this West End star, you got a record deal. What came
Which one?
first, the record deal, or did you leave Jesus Christ Superstar?
I got a deal within 2 months
Right.
of being on stage.
So you got a deal while you were still
Yeah.
in the musical. So you were
Yeah.
doing both at the same time then?
Just started recording and started doing all that, yeah.
Yeah, and then you decided to leave the musical, I guess, and put
Yeah.
the whole effort into being a rock star, basically, a pop
Well,
star.
yeah, and that's an interesting, thing in itself. People say, why didn't you go back to theatre? I love it, and it's a great medium, but my first love is writing songs.
Yeah, you've stuck to your guns really, because I'm guessing, you could always go back to the West End. You're still a young guy. You still got a fantastic voice. You still got
all my hair.
You've got a lot of hair for a man of your age.
Yeah.
I mean, you could go back to the West End and make a good living, but you've always stuck to your guns.
And I think, yes, I have. And, I know there's some amazing singers. John Owen Jones, a Welsh boy,
Yeah.
one of the best singers around, one of the best theatrical singers ever, I think. I spoke to him recently at something we were doing, and we were talking about stuff, and I get asked a lot to go and do things. And I say to people, well, if I really wanted to do it, do you think I'd be not doing it?
Yeah, of course.
So
yeah, you would have done it.
I would have done it. So, but what really turns me on, really gets me going, is what I'm doing now, and it makes me so happy.
Yeah. Now, it's interesting because you signed the record deal to Sony. You were a solo act then. That's when I first met you, in fact.
Yes.
And that's when I first came across you. You know, you hear names. You hear about this Welsh guy who's doing Jesus Christ Superstar. He's going to be huge. He's to sign a record deal, etc., etc., etc. You were signed to Sony, which is one of the biggest record companies in the world. What was that like as a sort of a guy from Swansea? What was that like?
Very interesting. I came at the end when they had money.
Right.
So there was a lot of money spent. They don't do it anymore because they haven't got that type of money. But I could tell you stories that would make your hair curl.
Yeah.
But
what's left of it?
but it was an interesting time. I met some great people. I learned so much. I learned that sometimes there was a scattergun approach where they threw as much as they could at the wall and see if it stuck. I don't think they knew what to do with me. I don't think I knew what to do with myself.
Because you were marketed in a particular way. You know, you got a great voice. You're a good-looking guy. I've always hated you for that, but you're a great-looking guy. So you were marketed to be a pop star, really, weren't you? To be a heartthrob, if you like.
And that I don't think that ever really sat with me because
That wasn't comfortable for you.
The album I made. A solo record I made for Sony. You know, some of the stuff I still really love. You know, it was compromised because they were playing such high stake games with me and they were spending so much money on me. It was almost, my friend, it was Pete Vitesse, who was the producer, said it was like they had this really expensive car in the garage. They kept bringing it out. They didn't know what to do with you.
Yeah.
I came to the theatre thing, which was a blessing and a curse in a way. And having a big deal, I was 26 or something. All of a sudden, you're given all this kind of. Rope, and I definitely hung myself with it.
But did you really? Because you just made the one album for Sony.
I made one. What's interesting is, how do we gauge success? We gauge success with album sales, all of that sort of stuff. They released my album. My dear mum died, and the boss of Sony called me up and said, "Sorry about your mum, but by the way, we're dropping you." Same phone call. But that's the way it was. They'd spent so much money, and it's just business, man. It's just business. I never took it personally. It's just what it was.
Of course.
But then I thought, then I really understood what playing at that level is.
Yeah.
And I thought, and don't get me wrong, I had a brilliant time. I went around the world 4 times writing with all my songwriting heroes. So it wasn't kind of boo-hoo or get the violins out. It was literally, I'm off to LA to do some songwriting with, some of the biggest songwriters in the world.
But if the record doesn't sell and they put that money in it, you're out.
You're out.
Good
night.
You were dropped from the label just before that. Your mother died. So, I remember seeing you. I think we chatted for a while, and I remember you weren't in a good place at that time.
No.
Why would you be? Of course.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to sort of come out of that? Because I guess at that time, career-wise, clearly, although you obviously had other things on your mind, bless you. But I mean, I guess, did you think it was over for the music career?
No, I thought it was. It's always, I think, losing anybody's a difficult thing. And do you ever get over losing a parent anyway? But the realization that this kind of dream, whatever that is, it's an interesting concept in itself. And what are we chasing? What are we chasing? Is it fame? Is it success? Is it? I've been in it for singing and I've been in it for songwriting. That's it. Yeah, money be great. Lots of it would be really great. Yeah. But, that's not my real motivation. My real motivation is to be regarded by my peers as a great singer and a great songwriter.
Yeah, clearly,
and later, we get to the story with the stories in a minute, where some of our heroes turned around and said those things. So it became, So that to me is success.
I love the stories. One of my favourite groups from the moment that there's always a vibe about a good band that comes. So me being in the radio industry, I start to hear stuff that Balsamo's got a new band again. We got you in to do a session from the first bar of the song. I thought these guys are wonderful. And you had initially, you were building up a reputation, and things were looking very good for the stories. You were sort of well talked about band, weren't you? You were the next big thing for a while, I think.
Yeah. So what happened with the stories? So we started writing songs, and we did a very romantic thing. We went up to our friend Lawrence at an old converted cinema in Glencorrwg in South Wales near Port Talbot, and we literally went there for a year, made an album in a very romantic way. We literally holed up in the place and drunk the bar dry and made a record and released it on our own little label. We had a label called Hall Recordings, and the label got into the hands of Elton John, and Elton John loved the record so much that he called me. He was in Vegas doing a residency in Vegas, and he called me in Swansea and said,
did somebody warn you that Elton John was going to
The management called and said Elton's going to ring, but Trace, my wife, answered it and said, Steve, Elton John's on the phone, what, that sort of thing. Sure. And I was bathing my then very young girl Izzy. Got on the phone, And Elton basically said, listen, man.
The phone rings. Hello? Steve Balsamo answers. Hello? And he says, it's Elton John.
It's Elton John. I'm like, okay, what's going on? And he's like, I love the record. I love this record. I've been playing it before every gig that I've done. I just think it's great. And he started singing Be By Your Side, one of our songs, at me down the phone. And at that point, I think I had a nervous breakdown. A slight one, but I had one. Because I'm thinking, and what he said, which I'll never forget as long as I live, he said, the songwriting on this is fantastic. Now, this is somebody who wrote Tiny Dancer. It's just like, yes, please.
Yeah.
So he said, look, do you want to come on tour with us? I said, yes. A little bit of swearing back and forth, because Elton loves to swear, so do I. A bit of swearing happened. Then we basically toured with him for the next 3 summers. So we did loads of cool stuff.
Okay, now, just before we play one final song, the stories came to an end, but Steve Balsamo then hooks up with another one of his rock star mates, because, of course, you've been talking about Roger Daltrey, but also John Lord, the late, great John Lord from Deep Purple. You then went on from the stories to working with John Lord a lot.
I owe a load of my...
This is your Steve, isn't it? You've done so much stuff.
I've done I don't even believe it myself. I owe a load of my cool stories to a very good friend of mine called Margot Buchanan. Margot Buchanan is one of the best singers around in the UK. Beautiful woman. She's married to Wix Wickens, Paul Wickens, who's Paul McCartney's MD.
Oh, Wix, keyboard player.
Beautiful keyboard player, beautiful guy. Margot is gorgeous in every way. She introduced me to loads of people. So I'm singing at the Sunflower Jam, which is a charity gig event that has been going for about 6-7 years, I think. So one of the gigs, John Lord's playing. And it's the Sunflower Jam is set up by Jackie Pace, who's and Vicky Lord. Vicky's John's wife. Jackie Pace is Ian Pace's wife, the drummer of Deep Purple. Yeah. And they're twins. Beautiful, beautiful women in every way. So they set up this great charity to raise money for alternate treatment for cancer, alternate cancer treatment to go along with regular kind of cancer treatment.
Yeah.
Right, really up my street. So anyway, at this gig, and John's there, and he comes up to me after the gig and says, "Dear boy, I really like your singing. Do you want to come and tour all over the world with me and drink some good wine?" I said, "Yeah, where do I sign?" Right? So next thing, I'm up a mountain, Zermatt, singing, all these gigs, and then we're over the... So John had this career. When he left Deep Purple, he always loved classical music. So he loved that world, and he had a career as a classical composer, legitimate classical composer who's played on Classic FM, and it was one of the great loves of his life. So I basically spent 5 or more years touring around the world with John, playing with orchestras and just having the loveliest time. He was one of the loveliest people, one of the cleverest people I've ever met, one of the best musicians I've ever met, astoundingly good musician. But very humble.
You've worked with all these big stars over the years, and you've had, Elton John and Roger Daltrey and the guys from Deep Purple and so on, all these names that you've mentioned on the programme tonight. I mean, do you ever lose, when you were singing with John Lord, I presume you were playing big places?
We played all over the place, man.
Did you ever lose the fact that, apart from the fact he's your mate and your boss, do you ever lose the fact that he's John Lord from Deep Purple?
No.
You never get away from that?
No, and what was really interesting was that he didn't know any of my history.
All this stuff it's like a ball of wool, isn't it? It's all mangled.
Well,
up.
I think synchronicity's definitely played a real strong part in my life, and I kind of look out for these as little signposts. Synchronicity being coincidence that have some sort of meaning, Yeah. So I look out for them.
Somebody should make an album called Synchronicity.
Yeah.
Steve, it's so lovely to see you again, my friend.
Thanks,
I'm a huge fan, and
thanks,
it's so great that you're making this. You've made this record with Rosalie. I love the tracks that I've heard so far.
Thanks.
An exclusive play on the programme tonight. We've got one more song which we're going to play now. February is when the album's coming out.
Yes.
So that's obviously a while away, but 2016, you've made a wonderful record. Now, what are you going to do with this, Bols? Because you've got this album. I presume you're going to be playing live with Rosalie?
We are. We've got some little gigs coming up. There's some shows coming up soon. We've got a gig for the Go Gentle Festival in Swansea.
Yeah.
We're supporting a girl called Callahan, great singer-songwriter. We're up and down the country with her. We got a few little gigs for Christmas, and then we're going to start next year. The label is German, so we're hopefully going to get out into Germany and to Holland, because Rosie's half Dutch.
Oh, right.
So she speaks Dutch, so we're gonna kind of do that and try and get into Italy and all those sort of things.
Yeah.
So we're just going to get out there and try and do it again, Alan.
Yeah.
Just enjoy singing the songs we've written.
Yeah.
Having started playing them live, because you make the record, as I said earlier on, you make the record, and I've had to learn the songs again. And
Yeah.
I'm not the best guitarist. I'm a tickler, so chords elude me.
You tickle it very well, though, Steve.
Chords elude me and lyrics elude me as I'm getting older.
Well, the album is coming out soon. As we said, it's called Unfolding, and Balsamo and Deighton, look out for them. Now, will you come back in when you're ready and do a little session for us? You
Absolutely
and
love
Rosalie?
to.
I'd love
We
that.
would love to.
Yeah, anytime. We will fix that up. Let's finish now with the song that we're going to play. Now, the full title of this song,
The Dream Song.
The Dream Song, and this is sort of dedicated to John Lord. This is
Yeah.
there's a John Lord vibe to this.
Absolutely.
You feel like what a great tune it is.
Absolutely. Thanks, Al.
Yeah. Okay. Balsamo and Deighton, and as Steve said, this is a beautiful tune called The Dream Song. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks.
We all knew this day would come, but still it really took our breath away. No matter how we try to run, life will catch us all one day. Sometimes we gotta see to believe. In time, the mystery reveals who we are. We can keep the dream alive. Break the chain and learn to fly. We just need the will to survive. See it on the other side. No, you know it's just a ride. We're waking up to keep the dream alive. Oh yeah. Staring into space tonight as your face falls into view. Hear a voice in the fading light, and it brings me back to you. Someday, when the hurting is done, we'll turn and walk in the sun. So stay true to what you do. We can keep the dream alive. Break the chain and learn to fly. We just need the will to survive. See you on the other side. No, you know it's just a ride. We're waking up, so keep the dream alive.
Okay, very shortly on the programme, this week's favourite album goes back to 2006. It's Under the Iron Sea with